Hi everyone. Several examples of patriotism can be seen not just in India but also in many countries across the globe, like USA's Patrick Henry, South Africa's Nelson Mandela, and Myanmar's Aung San Suu Kyi. So today, of all the great patriotic leaders, I would like to tell you the inspiring story of Aung San Suu Kyi. The armed forces of our nation is always there to protect our motherland from any obstacle. But not all countries are so lucky in that aspect. Trust me, you will find some countries around the globe who have had and are still facing challenges from their own armed forces. Even our neighboring country, Myanmar, is one of them. I'm talking about a time when our neighboring country, Myanmar, was known as Burma, and it was then when the Burma's father of nation, Aung San, was trying really hard to free the people of Burma from the rigid shackles of Japan's slavery. Then in the year 1945, Aung San and his wife were blessed with a beautiful daughter, Aung San Suu Kyi. Suu Kyi was only 2 years old when her father Aung San was assassinated by the political enemies 6 months before Burma won independence. Had it been any other family, it would have been devastated in such a situation. But Suu Kyi's patriotic mother, Dr. Kinchi, came forward and entered the complex world of politics. Suu Kyi completed her early phase of education in Burma. When Aung San Suu Kyi went to USA to pursue further studies, she met the Secretary Youth on there. It was because of his advice that Suu Kyi started working as the Vice Secretary in the Advisory Association. And this is how Aung San Suu Kyi started her career in politics. When Aung San Suu Kyi would see the people in USA enjoy their freedom, she would feel bad for her fellow citizens in Burma who were suffering. Because even in the year 1962, the armed forces of Myanmar was way behind as compared to the international standards of the armed forces present in other countries. Even though Myanmar was free, unfortunately she was a slave to her own armed forces. Suu Kyi started working as a research officer in the Foreign Ministry of Bhutan in the year 1972. And she got married to Dr. Michael Aris in the same year. Suu Kyi had told her husband Michael before the wedding that one day her country will need her active support, and that day I will have to return to my motherland. However, Suu Kyi was living a happy married life with her husband and her 2 sons in England. But there had to be a big twist in Suu Kyi's story. Suu Kyi's mother, Dr. Kinchi's illness brought her to her motherland in the year 1988. And due to this situation, Suu Kyi entered the world of politics in Myanmar. And she then joined the National League for Democracy as the General Secretary. She delivered a lot of inspiring speeches on democracy in her country. People of Burma, which had become Myanmar by this time, had started supporting Suu Kyi due to her commendable work. They could see the glimpse of leadership of Suu Kyi's father Aung San in her. But the government of Burma could not tolerate her views and growing popularity. And that is why State Law and Order Restoration Council House arrested Suu Kyi at her residence in Rangoon in the year 1989. And during the same time, her mother passed away due to her prolonged illness, leaving Suu Kyi alone. Suu Kyi was not even allowed to meet anyone in the initial years of house arrest. Imagine, it would have been so difficult for her to stay away from her family for so long. And due to her house arrest, Suu Kyi's political work had also suddenly come to a standstill. By this time, Suu Kyi had realized that due to the cruel action by the government of Burma, her journey was going to be even tough and long. She only had a short wavelength radio during her house arrest, and she could somewhat manage to know about the outer world. And maybe it was due to this radio that Suu Kyi could stay alive. In the year 1995, during Christmas, Suu Kyi's husband Michael received the permission to meet her in Myanmar after a lot of difficulty. And this was Dr. Michael's last meeting with her wife Suu Kyi. After this, the government of Myanmar initiated action to break Suu Kyi's confidence by stopping Michael Aris's visit after refusing to issue his travel visa. In 1997, Michael was diagnosed with prostate cancer. In spite of appeal by USA, United Nations and Pope John Paul II, the government of Myanmar refused Michael's visa request by giving an excuse that the country did not have the required facilities for his treatment. Yes, if Suu Kyi wishes, she could surely leave the country and meet her husband. But Suu Kyi had very well understood the conspiracy of Myanmar government. She knew if she leaves Myanmar, then the government will not allow her to return and imposed a ban on her return. That is why Suu Kyi did not leave the country to meet Michael. However, the house arrest imposed on her was removed. Myanmar government even rejected Michael's plea to visit Myanmar to meet his wife Suu Kyi for one last time. And then in the year 1999, Michael breathed his last in England. The government of Myanmar thought that Suu Kyi will definitely leave the country to see her husband for the last time. But when the government did not receive any request from Suu Kyi to leave the country, they started alluring her with various appealing offers for traveling in and outside the country. But the determined Suu Kyi did not accept any of these offers. The government of Myanmar kept an eye on every move by Suu Kyi. The government was just looking for an opportunity to arrest Suu Kyi again. And in the year 2000, Suu Kyi was house arrested by the government as she was accused of trying to leave the country with a purpose to meet NLT. By now, the entire country had realized how the cruel government of Myanmar was doing injustice to Suu Kyi and harassing her. And because Suu Kyi was a Nobel Peace Prize winner in 1991, all the Nobel Peace Prize winners gathered at Oslo in 2001 and protested her house arrest to fight for her justice. And during this protest, they appealed to the government to immediately free Suu Kyi and 15 other political prisoners. So the government of Myanmar had to reluctantly release Suu Kyi in the year 2002. The government also unwillingly admitted that this decision was not taken under any pressure or condition and said that Suu Kyi could continue her political career in Myanmar. But after things settled down and a violent bloodshed took place in the year 2002, the government of Myanmar once again arrested Suu Kyi. And this time, she was not house arrested, she was put behind the bars. At the end of the year 2002, she was shifted from jail to house arrest as done in the past. Just imagine, the height of government's torturing was so acute that even after 2008 cyclone Nargis hit Myanmar, when Suu Kyi's house became dilapidated, but still the government of Myanmar did not repair her house. Suu Kyi used to light candles in the dark as the lights were not working and were not repaired. To make it worse, the government extended her period of house arrest by 1.5 years on the pretext of an American John Yeta's visit to her house. And then, Suu Kyi's house arrest came to an end in the year 2010. She also contested an election as a candidate in Myanmar. After years of sheer hard work, Suu Kyi's political party emerged as a winner in 2015. In spite of this, she was not allowed to become the Prime Minister of Myanmar due to a particular provision laid down by the government of Myanmar in the year 2008, posing it as a rule. The determined Suu Kyi's fight is still on. She had continued her fight for democracy in Myanmar till 2010, which meant out of 20 years of her freedom struggle, she spent around 14 years as a hostage. And even today, she is a victim of house arrest. For over 50 years, Myanmar had been ruled by the armed forces, and Suu Kyi spent her entire life in fighting for Myanmar's freedom. And her fight for freedom is on even today. She is called the Iron Lady by her fellow citizens. Suu Kyi learned the principles of patriotism and respect at an early age from her parents. Suu Kyi is Myanmar's last hope of winning freedom from the armed force ruling her since several years. Today, Aung San Suu Kyi is a well-known political leader worldwide for her achievements. Nobel Peace Prize winner Suu Kyi fought the armed forces led by the government of Myanmar for her freedom over years without restoring any kind of violence, so she is truly a role model for all of us. The several years of repeated house arrest did not break Suu Kyi's determination to pursue her goal, and it won't even in future. Each one of us should learn from Suu Kyi that there is nothing more important than fighting for freedom of the motherland. Thank you.